Get ready for Anomicon 2025. It's a free virtual conference live streaming on September 20th on YouTube, Twitch, X, and Facebook. Created by Ryan Sprague of the Somewhere in the Skies podcast, Anomicon unites unique voices from academia, science, and entertainment. Join us for discussions on UFOs, the paranormal, cryptids, conspiracy theories, and all things anomalous. Hear from amazing speakers like actor Michael Ian Black, astronomer Dr. Beatrice Villarreal, marine biologist Cheyenne Steingass, UFO researchers Peter Robbins and Christina Gomez, and so many more. Plus, our Master of Ceremonies, podcast legend Jim Harold, will guide us through the day. Anomicon kicks off at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and runs all day and night. Subscribe to the Somewhere in the Skies YouTube channel or visit anomicon.com to learn more. Once again, that's anomicon.com. Anomicon, getting to the heart of life's mysteries, one discussion at a time.
I immediately knew that's not ours. That's not our adversary tech, because I know adversary tech. I've been read into all that stuff, and we're not alone. There's something. I don't know what they're doing. Don't know their intent, especially with nukes. That's pretty scary. But we're being monitored.
While our government's official position is not to speculate on this subject, we can choose to let our minds explore other possibilities, to use our imaginations. For if we consider that astroscientists agree on one point, that the possibility of life elsewhere is not only quite probable, some feel it is there without a doubt. Let us suppose then that these objects are real space vehicles, extraterrestrial in origin, and not an illusion of the mind.
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.
Welcome to Somewhere in the live stream. I am your host, Ryan Sprague, the host of the Somewhere in the Skies podcast. Welcome, guys. I know we missed last week. I was recovering, suffering, and then recovering from COVID-19. Yes, it is still a thing. Yes, it is still running rampant, and I was one of the unfortunate ones to get it. But I'm feeling much better. I cannot wait to break down the UFO news with you guys tonight. This is going to be an interesting episode. That's for damn sure. We have a ton of videos to show you guys. The UAP hearing is happening this upcoming Tuesday, September 9th, in just a few days. So are you guys excited? Are you hesitant? How you feeling? How you feeling in the chat about the September 9th UAP hearing? Now, we will be live broadcasting the hearing, and I will be doing a post discussion after the hearing as well. Maybe we'll bring in some guests. I don't know. We shall see. But yes, you will be able to watch the entire UAP hearing right here on the Somewhere in the Skies YouTube channel. So be sure to get notifications, click that bell, subscribe if you're not already subscribed right here on the channel you're watching this on. And yeah, we'll be watching it along with you guys and commenting after about it. Speaking of which, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Now, the 4 witnesses that will be testifying at the UAP hearing have been announced. And we're going to kind of break those down with you guys tonight. What we know of these individuals, what they've already talked about publicly, and, what they haven't. People are really interested in who these people are and what they might say in front of Congress. Many of them are quote unquote UFO witnesses. But is that enough? Is that what we really want from this hearing? Who do you want to hear from most in this upcoming hearing? We're going to talk about them tonight. I did put a poll up on YouTube. Make sure that you vote in that. We will go to that at the end of the show and get your guys' thoughts. But before we get to the UFO news, hello to all of our regulars. I see you in there, guys. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, this is where we break down all the latest UFO space-related news and everything in between on this live stream every Sunday. This will be available in podcast form this upcoming Wednesday as well. So yeah, Anomicon. You saw the ad for Anomicon right at the top there, guys. The countdown is on September 20th. Anomicon, our free virtual conference on all things anomalous, coming to you again right here on the Somewhere in the Skies YouTube channel. This will be going all day, all night. We have incredible speakers for you guys. So don't forget to head on over to anomicon.com to learn more about all of our speakers. All of their talks, the summaries for their talks are up on the website as well. So if you want to know in advance what they will be talking about, you can go check that out right now. You can actually watch Anomicon right on the website, or you can watch it right here on YouTube. It'll be available on Twitch as well. Speaking of which, hello to our Twitch watchers, hello to our Twitter and Facebook watchers as well. Come on over to YouTube, join us in the live chat. It's a lot more interactive right here on YouTube. Just search for Somewhere in the Skies and Ryan Sprague. You'll find it. But yeah, September 20th, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our Master of Ceremonies is the one and only Jim Harold. He'll be bringing us into Anomicon, giving you guys a message in the middle, and then closing us out as well. Suzanne and I will be there all day, all night, interacting with you guys too. And you're going to see incredible presentations on all things anomalous. So again, visit anomicon.com to learn more. Speaking of which, we are still raising the funds for Anomicon. So if you would like to help, we have 4 ways you can do that tonight. There is the Super Chat, Super Stickers, we have PayPal, and we have Buy Me a Coffee. You'll see QR links up there on your screen. You could scan those QR barcodes, or you can go to the links in the show notes as well and donate via PayPal or Buy Me a Coffee. Or easiest way, Super Chat and Super Stickers right here on YouTube. If you have a question for me tonight, you can put that in the Super Chat as well. All of your donations, guys, will go to help fund Anomicon this year. It is completely free for you to watch, no admission, nothing like that. But if you would like to donate, you can do that. We will have a charity as well at Anomicon, Doctors Without Borders. Half of the money will be going to that as well during the event. But if you would like to help in advance, you can do that these 4 ways tonight. So thank you in advance. We have a goal of 10 tonight. Can we hit it? That's up to you guys. Help us out if you can. Thank you, please, and thank you, please, and thank you. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. I'm getting it out of the way now, guys, before we get to all the latest news. I got this book in the mail today. I'm going to go full screen here. Saucer Spooks and Kooks by Adam Gorightly. This book is incredible, guys. I had a copy. I left it back in the United States, so I ended up getting this new one here in the UK. But we're going to have Adam Gorightly on the podcast next week. So if you guys have any questions for him, be sure to email them to me. There's an email in the show notes. We'll put it up on the screen as well. But yeah, if you have any listener questions for Adam Gorightly about saucers, spooks, and kooks, be sure to get those to me as soon as possible. I'll be sure to ask those for him. And then I got this one too that I'm currently reading, Final Events by the one and only Nick Redfern. This book is insane, guys. I'm just going to say it now. If you have not read this book, you gotta. It's about the Collins elite and all that. It's crazy. Check it out if you can. But yeah, just a couple of the things that I'm reading right now. But yeah, what say you guys? How's everyone in the chat? I see some people from Twitter. Hi, guys. Come on over to YouTube. Hearings are a waste of time. Congress needs to act. Beth is coming in hot. We'll get there, Beth. We'll get there tonight. I promise you. Hello, Pat Gallagher, J. Allen Heineken. Hi, guys. New York Tech. Why have these clowns testified? We really don't need more bedtime stories. Subpoena the captain of the Princeton. Ask for the radar data. Subpoena the guys from Eglin Air Force Base. New York T Tag has some strong opinions. I can't wait to break these witnesses down with you guys tonight, because I get it. I get it. I get it. But let's get to some other news before we get to the congressional UFO hearing that's coming up, guys. I want to give a special shout out to our good friend in Australia, Grant Levac. Now, if you guys didn't see, he was recently on the news in Melbourne, Australia, and talking about the Westall UFO incident and his petition that he's created to try to get a formal investigation going again on that case. So I'm going to go ahead and play this news clip from Australia with Grant, and we have the petition right there on the screen that Suzanne put up for you guys. If you would like to go and sign that, I think you might have to live in Australia to sign it. I could be wrong, but either way, check it out. It's worth a look. But let's go ahead and watch this news clip with Grant to learn a bit more about the Westall incident and why he feels that we need to reopen an investigation on it. Nonetheless, it's so cool to see Grant on the news there talking about UAP. We cannot ask for more. He's one of the only people over there talking about UFOs and trying to get the Australian government to take this topic seriously. And I thought he did a wonderful job at in this news clip. So let me find this for you guys, and we'll talk a little bit more on the other side. Enjoy.
Dying to talk about
have been.
the mystery surrounding the mass UFO sighting at Westall High School. This is in Melbourne's east, you remember it. This left locals without answers for almost 60 years.
But that could soon all change with a new petition calling on the government for a fresh investigation. That's right, folks. For more, we are joined by UFO researcher Grant Levac in Melbourne.
Hey, Grant.
Good morning to you, Grant. Okay, so DC is all kinds of excited about this. I'm still a bit of a skeptic. Look, this has been described as Australia's largest mass UFO sighting. But why? Tell me about all the intrigue behind it.
So, I mean, next April marks 60 years since the Westall incident, where up to 200 school students, select teachers and others witnessed something truly extraordinary and anomalous in the sky above their school. And what's frustrating for the witnesses 60 years on is there's never been any official explanation or documentary evidence provided by the Australian government at a federal, state or local level, or the Australian Department of Defence, as to what it is they saw. And there's never been any explanation provided as to why there was a rapid response of military personnel on site shortly after the event, witness intimidation, confiscation of evidence. And there's been a comprehensive report that was compiled by the then Department of Supply, which is now defunct. That report has never seen the light of day, despite the efforts of researchers like Shane Ryan, who's interviewed up to 180 witnesses, Keith Basterfield, Bill Chalker, and investigative journalist Ross Coulthart, and myself. We've all attempted to get records from the Australian government through the Freedom of Information Act, which is under threat at the moment thanks to the truth tax that's being proposed. And we've tried to find records through the National Archives of Australia, and there has been no documentation that has been presented to the public to date as to what happened on the 6th of April 1966.
Well, great. Let's talk about that day. You've done the documentary about it. You spoke to people there. What did the witnesses describe for people at home who don't know the case?
So a couple of years ago, I met a number of primary witnesses who, and I hit them with number of questions and just looked them straight in the eye, and they were incredibly compelling with what they recollected and what they recalled, and that they saw between 1 and 3, it's a bit ambiguous, 1 and 3 unidentified anomalous objects in the sky above their school and in a densely wooded area south of the school known as the Grange. Many commented that what they saw resembled the shape of a flying saucer, and it moved in ways that they weren't able to explain or reconcile, and it moved very rapidly to this densely wooded area south of the school known as the Grange, where it was reported to have landed or to come in close contact with the ground.
There you go, Sarah.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, obviously, as I said before, I'm a bit of a skeptic, right? So,
as you should be.
60 years on, how can we possibly now investigate what happened back then? How can there be any kind of evidence that might point to this potentially being a UFO or not being a UFO?
Yeah, so I think there's always an opportunity for more information and more witnesses to come forward and come to light. And if there was this comprehensive report that was compiled by the then Department of Supply, well, then that should be released to the Australian public. If it was something prosaic that was observed in the sky above Westall High School on the 6th of April 1966, well, the government should come clean, be transparent, and provide answers to the witnesses that have lived with what they've seen for 60 years.
And here's the thing, right? You look at America and Congress are now releasing information about, unidentified objects that the military have seen, and they're releasing videos. Maybe the government here should do the same. You've got this petition. What do you hope is going to come out of it if it had any response at all?
We've had close to 500 signatures, electronic signatures already, and to your point, David, next week the United States Congress is going to hold its 6th hearing in just over 3 years on this issue of UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena. So it's clear that the United States Congress and the United States Department of Defense is taking this topic incredibly seriously from a national security threat and safety of flight risk, and they're saying that it's not an issue that's just isolated to the United States. Now, in stark contrast to that, you have Australia, closest ally to the United States. Our positions on UAP could not be further apart. So it begs the question, why is Australia not taking the issue of UAP, the national security threats and safety of flight risk that they pose, why is Australia not taking it seriously when our US ally and Five Eyes partner is?
I know you're a skeptic, but isn't that compelling?
Do you know, I want to believe that it's true. Imagine if it's true. How cool would that be? Hey, let's hope you get that petition up, Grant. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks, Grant.
All right. Awesome. Good on you, Grant. So good to see him. He comes across so eloquent and well on the news. He's the type of person we need on news talking about UFOs. There's so many people I've seen on news broadcasts who I'm just like, why? Why did you pick them? I'm probably one of them to many people. When they see me pop up on news, they're like, what is that douchebag doing on there? But Grant is awesome. And again, he's so right. Like, Australia is part of the Five Eyes Alliance. The United States and Canada are kind of taking the lead on UAP investigation. Why is Australia so far behind? Especially when they have events like the Westall, which is an insanely well-documented case. So that's awesome. Again, guys, if you do live in Australia, I cannot urge you enough to sign that petition. Link is in the show notes. We'll have it in the chat as well. So awesome. Let's move to our next story for tonight. And that is from our good friend John Greenwald over at the Black Vault. Now, this is an interesting one. Again, if a story involves John Greenwald, it involves an FOIA request. And that's exactly what this one is. This one was titled over at his website, theblackvault.com. Check it out, guys. The title is DoD says aerospace firms went on the record about UAP and now refuses to acknowledge records exist. So what's going on here? In March of 2024, the Department of Defense released its report on the historical record of U.S. government involvement with UAP. On page 32, it confirmed that the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, had met with aerospace companies and that those companies formally denied involvement in any crash retrieval or reverse engineering programs related to extraterrestrial craft. These were said to be on-the-record statements made by company officials. In response, the Black Vault filed a Freedom of Information Act request seeking those very statements. But despite the DoD's public acknowledgement of their existence, the request was denied in full. In a final decision dated on September 5th, 2025, the Office of the Secretary of Defense issued a, quote, GLOMAR response, refusing to confirm or deny whether the records actually exist, citing FOIA exemptions. This position directly contradicted the DoD's own published report, creating a legal paradox. Now, over at the Black Vault, guys, I would highly recommend going to read the article that John published on this, because he does go into these exemptions and what each of them could mean. So I would highly suggest going over there to get a better understanding of this. But it is interesting that these aerospace companies denied that they had any involvement in any sort of crash retrievals or recovery of craft or anything like that. But then when you try to get any information, it's like they're just like, no comment, doesn't exist. It's why? Why? If they're formally saying that, like, we didn't do this, this isn't a thing, it was in the historical report. Now they're denying it? Like, what is the point of that? I don't understand that. And clearly, John Greenwald felt the same. An appeal was filed the next day challenging the denial and arguing that the exemptions do not apply, especially since the government had already acknowledged the records. The case isn't about revealing secret crash retrieval programs, those have been denied, but about releasing the very denials cited as evidence. The appeal demands the release of the statements or a detailed justification for why they're withholding them. The outcome will determine whether the government can be held accountable to its own disclosures under FOIA. Weird paradox. So, I mean, this isn't them saying, denying that any aerospace company said they did work on them. It's denying, it's exempting that they didn't. So again, it's weird. It's just weird. So I'm glad John is going after this. What this reminds me of is what John always talks about, and that's the insane amount of overclassification of information. Like, again, if the historical report is saying that these crash retrieval programs, they could find no information in their investigations, Arrow and whatnot, on these, then just say that. Why deny the information that would prove your point? If you really want to downplay this, obfuscate, and do all that shit, then what is the point of denying someone like John Greenwald the information proving your point? Oh my God, it's frustrating. And it just leads to more and more overclassification of information and ridiculous excuses as to why they are exempting these things from people like John Greenwald. So, yeah. Crazy stuff, guys. Crazy, crazy stuff. Yes, overclassification. Agreed. LS. Agreed. Okay. Let's move to our next story. And this brings us to Cheyenne Mountain. You guys familiar with that place at all? Interesting place, if you ask me. And even more interesting, because this gentleman on your screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, had a crazy UFO encounter there, allegedly. This came in the form of an interview on Reality Check with Ross Coulthart with an intelligence officer by the name of Kason Best. Best is a former U.S. Army Intelligence and Special Forces officer, and he reportedly witnessed a UAP near Cheyenne Mountain Space Force Base in 2022, alongside 4 of his colleagues. So what I'm going to do now is we're actually going to hear from Kason Best on Reality Check with Ross Coulthart, and hear his story about what he apparently saw at this Space Force base. This is pretty nuts, if true. So let me pull this up for you guys, and we'll hear from Kason Best.
Did you see?
It's hard to describe. Even now, just a few years later, it was unlike anything that I frankly could have made up. And I'm not the most creative person, but it was a massive, perfectly still elliptical object. And the stillness was just shocking. Like it was almost tied to a fixed point in space. If I were to guess, and this is hard to say, 6 miles away, but I would guess maybe 300 feet at least. elliptical like this, white in color, comprised of these uniform panels that seem to be all pentagons, but were all irregularly shaped. They were joined at the seams, the linear seams, and these irregularly shaped but uniform in area pentagonal panels were like a mother of pearl or a white ceramic color. And it was a perfect sunny Colorado bluebird day, 50 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, and you could see these panels move as they kind of glisten in the sun.
What did you call the object? What was your nickname for it?
So we didn't have a nickname. Maybe we'll get into it a little bit later, but Aero, their office nickname for this object was the crystalline potato.
Crystalline potato.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It didn't seem like it was made of crystal, but it did have a kind of a reflection to it.
I think you've told me previously it had kind of a mother of pearl look to it.
Yeah, absolutely. All the panels were the same. And again, they were kind of seamed at the linear edges of all of them. It was in a pattern that just did not make sense. Because you could tell that there was three-dimensionality to it.
Three-dimensionality.
It was a pattern that was hard to comprehend.
The paneling. Forgive me, three-dimensionality to the paneling? Is that what you mean?
To the skin of the object, to the topography of the exterior of the object itself. You could very much tell that the object was three-dimensional and elliptical, but then it had topography along it. So kind of peaks and valleys that were comprised of these panels. So
I appreciate the object was 6 miles away over Cheyenne Mountain, one of the most secure military complexes in the world. Can you estimate its length and height?
Yeah, again, this is probably the most uncertain aspect of the observation, but I would say at least 300 feet in length and then maybe 150 feet in height. Very large.
It's a clear blue sky day?
Perfectly bluebird. Anybody who's been out to Colorado, the day after it snows, oftentimes it's just shockingly beautiful. There wasn't a cloud in the sky for 360 degrees.
So how high off the ground at the top of the Cheyenne Peak would it have been hovering?
Yeah, so Cheyenne Mountain itself is comprised of 2 peaks with a saddle in the middle. On the, if you're facing west, on the left peak is an antenna array. And so it's pretty much right over that antenna array, a little bit to the right of it. If I were to guess, again, this is hard to say, but maybe 500 feet above.
So how many men are with you as you're looking up at this object, and how long do you see the object for?
Yeah, so all 5 of us, myself included, are, we get to the top of the stairs and we're naturally looking at the mountain, and already over that saddle is this object. And having somebody who's been in combat, when you have a truly unique experience, you kind of get that tunnel vision and just the shock factor. And so we were all just transfixed on what we were seeing, trying to perceive it. But enough time elapsed so that we had shared some expletives, confirmed that all 5 of us saw it. We're able to postulate what we may or may not be seeing. So if I were to guess, at least 30 seconds.
Now, help me here. Please tell me one of you whipped out a phone and started filming.
It's a good question. And, from the nature of going from one SCIF to another, we didn't have our phones on us. But frankly, it was such a shocking experience that I didn't even think of bringing out a phone, even if I did have it.
Can I ask you this, Kason? A lot of people tell me when they see objects like this, is there any awareness of the object anywhere else on the base? Or is it only you 5 that are in the open air able to see this object? Do you have the sense? A lot of people have told me they have the sense sometimes that these objects appear to be showing themselves to them and nobody else, and that sometimes it looks as if nobody else can actually see what they're seeing. Is there any reaction anywhere else in any of the military complexes adjacent to this object?
So the top of the stairs is a parking lot. That's where we were located. We didn't see anybody else in that parking lot, but it was, 30 minutes before lunchtime. So it was pretty quiet naturally. If I were to guess that it was 30 minutes later that we observed this object, it'd be very much crowded. We couldn't see anybody else around us. So it would be just speculation, to be honest. But the one thing that strikes me is that this object was very much already there and stationary before we came into the line of sight for observing.
Crystalline potato. Now I just want potatoes. Suzanne's making potatoes. Who told me to go nip out a chippy? I had to look up what that meant. I should know that by now. I've been living in Scotland for 3 years. Nip out a chippy is common Scottish idiom meaning to quickly go to a fish and chips for takeaway. There's actually one like literally a minute from my apartment, and they stay open super late for the drunk people at the bar right next door. I might just have to. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a spud. No, I know we're making a lot of puns and jokes about potatoes. Now, that was the name that Arrow gave this, because apparently Arrow did an investigation into this, which is interesting. That's interesting that this Army veteran came forward with this story, and actually this got reported to Arrow. However, what happened to the case, we'll probably never know. But as for Kaysen, his involvement with UFOs did not end there. He would go on to submit a formal intelligence report that included corroborating witness statements, yet his superiors treated the matter with indifference. There you go. Typical. According to the accounts, the reporting channels he used were deliberately stifled, leaving the incident unresolved and effectively buried within official systems. This response highlights a broader pattern, often described by service members who attempt to report UAP encounters through formal military or intelligence channels. So, he tried, guys. He tried. I found it interesting too. I should mention that he said he was in between SCIFs when they saw this thing. Of course, like what? Who's going SCIF to SCIF? And then in the middle of going between SCIFs, sees a potato in the sky. That's just crazy to me. The way he described the object was so interesting. You're seeing a CGI rendering of it on your screen if you're watching this on YouTube. If this is what that thing looked like, whoa. It is strikingly similar to what our good friend Rob Christofferson saw in central New York when he was younger. In fact, Rob sent me like a artist rendering that he had done of his UFO sighting, and it looked just like this thing, which is crazy. Crazy. Egg-shaped, anyone? Kind of looks like the Socorro, New Mexico object as well. No symbols, no little protrusions for legs, but interesting nonetheless. Was it a balloon, guys? Do you think it was a balloon? I don't know. But it was enough for these Army intelligence officials to think it was freaking weird and report it. So the aftermath of all this would actually inspire Kaysen Best to begin working with ASA, Americans for Safe Aerospace. In 2023, Best became involved with ASA, a nonprofit founded by former Navy pilot Ryan Graves to provide secure reporting outlets for UAP witnesses. By 2024, Best had taken on a leadership role within ASA, overseeing the reporting program and processing nearly 800 UAP submissions. Wow. He personally interviewed more than 50 credible witnesses, many of whom came from aviation and intelligence backgrounds. His role at ASA positioned him as both an advocate for transparency and a bridge between witnesses and a growing movement that seeks to legitimize UAP reporting outside traditional, often dismissive government frameworks. So There you go, guys. Yet another credible military witness to come forward. Exactly, Robert Chafee says. I don't know. It's yet another witness testimony that adds to the tapestry that is credible witnesses, some of which we are apparently going to be hearing from at the UAP hearing this Tuesday, September 9th, which we're going to get to very soon, guys. I promise. I promise. What do you guys think? What do you think Kaysen Best saw? This was at Cheyenne Mountain. This was at a military complex, which is now a Space Force base of all things. I think it was still an Air Force base when his event occurred, but yeah, interesting. Interesting nonetheless. Super chat and super stickers are open, guys. If you would like to help out the show tonight, we have a goal of 10 of those. No matter how big, how small, we appreciate every donation you guys send to help fund Anomicon on September 20th. So thank you. Thank you in advance. PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee are available as well. Links are in the show notes. So again, thank you to all of you for being here and for any of you willing to help tonight. If you can't help us financially, simply like this video, subscribe, do all that YouTube-y stuff, rate and review the podcast. Appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Suzanne Landers, our incredible moderator who's with us tonight, guys. She is on the road. I'm not going to say where she is, but she is in a very famous area. Let's just say in a desert, perhaps, somewhere, where the sands are as white as the clouds above. There you go. She may have gone to a very famous museum as well, but I will say nothing more. She has very limited Wi-Fi tonight, so she's joining us in the chat, giving us her time on her vacation and her travels. So I cannot thank her enough for her invaluable loyalty to our show and everything she does for us. So send her some love, guys, in the chat. We surely appreciate everything she does here. Here's a guy Suzanne is very familiar with. David Grusch is back in the news again, guys. This man can just not stay out of the UFO headlines, can he? This time he seems to have gotten himself into a little bit of an incident. Now, we don't know much about what is going on. We can only speculate at this point. But something happened. Something happened. An incident occurred right before a SCIF meeting that David Grusch had with Representatives Eric Burlinson and Anna Paulina Luna. So what I'm going to do now is play a clip from a Soul Foundation interview that Anna Paulina took part in, where she brought this up. What is going on? Let's watch the video, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the very scant information we have about this. But yeah, let's go ahead and give this a watch.
Get another hearing with the task force before this one, and every single witness we had reached out to said that they didn't want to testify because they were scared for their life. And these were not people that you see in the media. These were not, podcasters or anyone who's made a career talking about it. These were legitimate, former military and or military contractors, and they were literally afraid of being killed. And then you had David Grusch tell us directly that he was actually felt in fear of his life, and some weird things had happened prior to that first hearing. And then I would encourage all of you to actually reach out to him, because even just yesterday, I actually went into the SCIF with David Grusch and Eric Burleson. And prior to that SCIF meeting happening, there was something really bizarre that took place with David Grusch, and it's being handled at the law enforcement level. But, things like that happening are not normal, especially being that David Grusch is currently Eric Burleson's congressional staffer. And so you're seeing a lot of stuff now flush out. And what I can tell you is we are trying to actively push to release the information that we've seen to the American people. And so, again, you have this aspect of this disinformation campaign that's taking place, trying to discredit it. And I frankly don't care at this point, because what I can tell you is the people that are genuinely interested in the actual science of this, the people like Dr. Avi Loeb who actually can provide the data to back this stuff up, those people know the truth. And so we're not necessarily doing this for the people on X that are trying to discredit it. We're doing for the people that are actually taking this seriously. And then also to remember, this is a very, very big deal, especially from a national security perspective. And so I've actually also had meetings with officials of foreign governments. I won't get into what those governments are, but I did ask for any information that they could share in regards to this topic. And I bring that up because the US government is not the only government that has taken a particular interest in this. And there are going to be, I think there's going to be some information presented in the upcoming hearing from George Knapp on the topic. But again, we've been able to branch out and talk to other governments in regards to this.
Okay. Keep that in mind. Foreign governments. George Knapp. Put a pin in that, guys. A police investigation? What is happening? Now, this happened right before Grusch went into a SCIF with these two to talk about possible classified information. These SCIF meetings that we have been hoping and praying for how long at this point? Since Grusch testified, like over 2 years ago at this point? Crazy. Now, sorry, I'm trying to get myself back. There we go. Grusch is now a member of Burlinson's staff, which is insane. Is it possible that because he is now on the staff of a congressperson, a representative, I should say, that he has ostensibly lost those clearances that he once had, therefore he cannot actually say these classified things in a SCIF? Were these people, whoever showed up, to kind of see what he's going to be talking about it in the SCIF? Was that what they were going to remind him of? Who knows? Well, but what happened? What caused law enforcement to get involved and an investigation to be opened? And why did Paulina say, if you have any contact with David Grusch, like, send him your thoughts right now? It sounds like this is serious, whatever happened. Again, I don't want to speculate. I don't think anyone should be speculating too much about what happened. But I have heard from several sources that we will be hearing from David Grusch about this. There is no timetable of when we will hear about it, but he will be commenting on this. This isn't just a claim being made by Anna Paulina. It has been confirmed to me and others that this did happen, and David Grusch has spoken privately to people about it. That's all I know. I don't know anything else. I am not going to speculate, but things just keep getting weirder and weirder, guys, especially as we head into this UAP hearing coming up in just a couple days. Oh my God. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but there you go. A formal law enforcement investigation has been opened because of something that happened right before David Grusch went into a SCIF. So, stakes are high. The stakes are high. You cannot hush the Grusch, as someone said in the chat. I love it. Love it. UAP hearing September 9th. We are going to break all of it down with you guys in just a moment here. We're going to talk about each of the witnesses and what I think they're going to be talking about at the hearing. But let's take a very, very quick break. I'm going to reset the room and go grab a drink. I've got my coffee with me tonight. I'm not on the booze because I'm still getting over my COVID. But if you guys have a drink, enjoy. Let's come right back in just a few minutes, and we're going to talk all about the upcoming UAP hearing coming to us on Tuesday, September 9th, which we will be live streaming right here on the channel. But for now, let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with Somewhere in the Live Stream. Greetings, everyone. Ryan Sprague here, host of Somewhere in the Skies. For over 7 years and more than 400 episodes, the Somewhere in the Skies podcast has always been free to listen to, but it's not free to create. So we offer several ways to help support our efforts and get rewards in return. If you listen to the podcast on Apple, you can click the subscribe button at the top of your Somewhere in the Skies feed to become a premium Apple subscriber. Or you can join our Patreon campaign with several tiers available. Both of these options give you the same benefits and rewards: ad-free episodes, early access to the main show, and bonus episodes and content. Help keep the lights on at the Somewhere in the Skies HQ, and help us continue to grow by becoming a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/somewhereskies, or by clicking the subscribe button at the top of your Apple feed. Thank you for your continued support, and keep looking up. All right, welcome back to Somewhere in the Live Stream, guys. Yes, Patreon is available if you would like to support us that way monthly. You get a ton of different benefits in return: early access to the show, priority to ask our guests questions, and all of that. You can find out more information at patreon.com/somewhereskies. Links are in the show notes as well. Hi, buddy. Sorry, Suzanne is showing me her beautiful puppy in the green room. Hi. Hi. Oh, I wish you guys could see it. I won't put you on screen, I promise. Anyways, let's get back to the September 9th hearing, guys. It's just in a couple days here. Are you excited? Again, are you trepidatious? How you feeling? How you feeling? I know when the news first broke, a lot of us were like, ugh, really? But look, it's gonna happen, whether we like it or not. And whether it's a horse and pony show, is that the term? Yeah, horse and pony show, as Ross Coulthard called it. Um, it's gonna happen. I mean, there's just no way of stopping it at this point. But what is it? What is the upcoming hearing? This is being done through the Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets, and it is titled Restoring Public Trust Through UAP Transparency and Whistleblower Protection. This will be taking place at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard on Tuesday, September 9th. And let's go through the witnesses, shall we? Let's break it down for you guys. Now, for months and months now, we have been hearing that we were going to hear from the people working on the crash retrieval programs firsthand. What are we getting instead? 3 UAP witnesses and the Napster. Let's break it down. First up, we have this gentleman that will be testifying, Jeffrey Nucatelli, or Nucatelli. I'm not sure how to say it. But Jeffrey is a former Air Force security officer who responded to an incident in 2004 of a large red square being reported over at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is this red square case is crazy. And I don't think we've actually ever talked about it here on Somewhere in the Skies. But you know who did interview Jeffrey already? Our very good friend Vinny Adams over at Disclosure Team. So I'm going to actually play two clips from Vinny's interview with Jeffrey that he recently re-released on his channel. So if you guys are not subscribed to Vinny, you should do that right now. Head on over to Disclosure Team right here on YouTube, and you can watch this full interview. It's probably one of the last videos that he re-released over there. But let's go ahead and hear about the first Red Square incident from Jeffrey Nucatelli that occurred on October 14th, 2003. It's pretty crazy. So let me go ahead and find that clip for you right here. All right, here we go.
Began in October 2003, October 14th. And I came on shift sometime in the late afternoon. I was working the midnight shift, and I was relieving Delta Flight. Delta Flight had worked the day shift. So it started out as a regular day. I drove into work, and when I arrived, there was a large group of other cops at the smoking pit right across from our armory. And so I knew something was up when I showed up. And as I pulled in to the parking lot, everybody started to point at me, and I could tell they were excited to tell me something big had happened. And that wasn't, very unusual. It was a very busy base. We had a very robust law enforcement mission, so it wasn't uncommon for me to come in and hear some wild tale about, something that had happened earlier in the day. So yeah, I said, okay, something's up. I parked my truck. I walked over to the smoke pit, and everybody starts to tell me that they had this real world UFO encounter at 08:45 in the morning. And, initially I was a little skeptical, but very quickly I realized that they were not joking around and this was an actual event.
Right.
So the initial briefing I got was that a group of Boeing contractors had been working out at Launch Facility 21 on North Base, about 30 minutes drive from our command center. And they had called in that a gigantic UFO had been floating over the launch facility for an extended period of time. And they had eventually, the contractors called the range control to report it. And range control had made a number of calls to, the weather radar stations, trying to verify if there were balloons up or if anyone knew what was going on.
Mm.
And they received, confirmation that there were no weather balloons, nothing on radar. And then eventually the range control on-duty dispatcher contacted the law enforcement desk, our command center, and reported the incident. And at that point, all the post and patrols were notified that there was an incident, and the on-duty flight chief and senior patrolman responded out to the launch facility, made contact with the contractors, got the story, had them write sworn written statements. And by that time, the patrolman, the object had drifted off to the east onto the base. And the patrolman didn't report seeing anything anomalous. So they returned back to the squadron, filed the incident in the blotter, and then they called in the technical sergeant from range control who had made the initial notification to the cops. And they brought him in. They interviewed him and had him write a sworn written statement. And I have his statement. And now would be a good time. I have the blotter and I have the statement. And
yep.
We can read it.
That would be amazing. Yes, please.
Yeah. So what I've done, just so everyone knows, what I've hand typed out verbatim a copy of the blotter and the incident, and I've X'd out the name. So when I'm reading it, it'll read something like Master Sergeant X, whatever. So yeah, let me pull them up. Hopefully we won't have any issues when I pull this document up. Let me know.
No problem at all.
I'll read the blotter first.
Okay.
So this blotter entry was from the blotter that ran from 0500 hours, October 14th, 2003 to 0500 hours on 15 October. So this blotter would have basically chronicled everything that happened on Delta flight in the daytime and everything on Bravo flight in the evening.
Right.
So this is blotter entry number 13 at 0845 hours local. The title is Patrol Response Unidentified Flying Object. And the first line is the complainant, that's Tech Sergeant X from Range Control. And then 3 witnesses are listed, each Boeing contractors, along with their duty phone numbers. And then here's the written summary. Tech Sergeant X notified the Security Forces Control Center he received a call telling him there was a red square object hovering in the air above LF-21. Master Sergeant X, Police 1, and Technical Sergeant X, Police 1 Alpha, were dispatched and responded. Upon arriving on scene, there was no evidence of any hovering objects in the vicinity. Senior Master Sergeant X from Range Control and Staff Sergeant X from Base Operations were notified and relayed there were no sightings on their radar during that time period. Master Sergeant X approached the witnesses at LF-21 and LF-10 who reported seeing the unidentified flying object. For more information, refer to Air Force Form 1168. And then it has the notifications listed. So the people notified were Lieutenant Colonel X, who was the Security Forces commander, my commander. Senior Master Sergeant X, he was the Security Forces Operations Superintendent. Staff Sergeant X with Air Force OSI. I'm sorry, Staff Sergeant X with Security Forces Investigations.
Right.
Special Agent X with OSI. And Airman First Class X with the 30th Space Wing Command Post. So that's the official record of what the police chronicled after the incident was reported and investigated. So that's the official document that I have.
That's amazing. It's good that they still have some documentation. It's not just, word of mouth. That's incredible.
Yeah. And had I not had this documentation, honestly, I don't think I would have came forward.
Right.
I really needed to have something backing me up that could be investigated and vetted and to give me the confidence to come forward
Sure.
with the story, because it is, it's an unbelievable story.
Yeah, it is. Wow. The fact that OSI got involved too, Office of Special Investigations, that's saying a lot, to be honest. A lot of people's names are X. Who would have thought that many people in the military, that their name would be X? It's just crazy to me. I'm kidding. Obviously, the names have been redacted of all these individuals in the blotter. Maybe they won't be when Jeffrey Nucatelli testifies at the hearing. Maybe some of those people will be named. Maybe they will be eventually named in a SCIF. But interesting nonetheless. What's even more interesting is this Red Square event that happened that night. It happened again later that night. This is crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip from Finney's interview about the second incident at Vandenberg later that night to back up the claims of the first event. It's a very interesting case. I'm excited to learn more about it at the hearing. But let's go ahead and watch this with you guys. Here we go.
Read to you the witness statement that I do have in my possession from the Red Square event that happened that morning.
Absolutely.
You bring it up.
So this is one of the Boeing contractors' direct witnesses.
No, this is the technical sergeant that called in from Range Control. So he received a complaint from the contractors.
Okay, right.
He got the call from the site saying there's an enormous UFO out there. And he called the law enforcement desk and relayed all that information to us.
Brilliant.
So they brought him in later in the day and did a interview with him.
Okay, wonderful.
Let me pull that up. So he's not a direct witness. He's an indirect witness.
Sure.
So this is Air Force Form 1168, Statement of Witness dated 14 October 2003 at 15:31 hours local, so a little bit in the afternoon. The narrative. I, Technical Sergeant X, was working on shift at Missile Maintenance Operations Center on 14 October 03 at approximately 0900 hours. Received a call from Refurb maintenance team, Mr. X, stating that there was a large floating object over the hill by LF-21. I asked how big it was, and he replied it was huge. I then asked, is it bigger than 20 feet? And he replied, yes. He indicated that it was a large square shape and red in color. He also indicated that it was not making any noise, just floating in the air. At that time, I called weather to see if they had sent up any weather balloons or test equipment. Negative response. Then I called security forces to inquire if they were notified about any such objects. Negative response. I also contacted Command Post and the 76th Helicopter Squadron. Negative response. At this time, I attempted to call Mr. X back at LF-10 to get an update. No answer on site due to maintenance in progress. Security forces said that they would send a unit out to investigate. The unit reported no signs of any floating objects. At approximately 11:15 hours, I was able to contact Mr. X on site, and he indicated that the object floated over the hilltops and then disappeared to the east. Security forces called me for my personal info and requested that I would come by and make a statement. End of statement.
Wow. I mean, I think what's interesting about the actual object itself is that it's described as square shaped, but I think I heard in your conversation with Ryan Graves that it's not like a cube. It is more like a flat object. Am I right in saying that?
Now that information is from my recollection from reading the original Boeing contractor statements.
Okay.
But like I said, I had lost those in about 2012. So everything that I'm quoting from that is from memory. And the issue that I'm having is there were so many events that happened in a 1 month period, and then other events that happened later at Vandenberg, that some of the stories are mixed up in my head.
Sure.
So, but there is one direct witness that I'm friends with that has come forward and eventually will be coming forward that saw this object later that night. And it was at least 100 yards, if not. Wow. It was an enormous, enormous object.
So is that the kind of the next thing that kind of happened? So, and this is the same evening, October 14th.
Yeah.
Could you kind of describe where, you know, what his role was at the time and what he was doing, and was he on his own? All that kind of information.
So we go on the shift that night, and this particular individual, he actually worked for me on law enforcement but at the time he was posted on security because we had posted people at all these new launch facilities. So they were taking basically my manpower, my gate guards and patrolmen, and putting them on security to backfill the security.
Right.
So he was posted on South Base at another launch facility, one of I think the largest facility we have there, called Space Launch Facility 4. We call that Slick 4.
Right.
I think that's where SpaceX launches out of now.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And all that was happening, I think, with SpaceX when I left in 2006 timeframe.
Right.
But back in 2003, that was our primary launch facility for the really large rockets, like the big Titan 4s that I think went to the moon. So this complex is enormous, and we had at least 6 people posted there. 2 people on an internal security patrol in a truck, 2 other people on an external security patrol, and then we had an entry control point that handles all traffic in and out, vehicles and personnel. And I think we had 2 people there. So at least 6 people right on that site. And sometime in that evening, I had just returned. I had been out looking for the UFOs. I had got night vision goggles and I had a thermal imager, and I was out on the coast driving around along with some other people who were doing this. And I had returned to the command center, and we were all just sitting around talking about it with the dispatchers. I think there was about 4 or 5 of us on the command center.
Okay.
And then a radio transmission came in from the security patrol at Slick 4. And they said something to the effect of, be advised, we have a strange light over the ocean to the west off the coast. And the dispatcher told them, roger that, keep a visual on it, notify us if anything happens. And then very rapidly, the transmission started to come in more frantically. The object is moving, it's changing directions, it's moving erratically. So I started to get up and get ready to drive out there. I'm like, okay, that's not a fishing boat. I grabbed my gear and I got ready to jump in the car, and then all hell broke loose. And the transmission started to come in. People were frantic and screaming. It's getting bigger. It's getting closer. It's coming right at us. And now it's right here.
Wow.
And, multiple transmissions, people talking all over the radio, all over the net. The dispatcher tried to get command and control the situation. I jumped in my car, started hauling out. There was about a 30-minute drive to South Base from where I was.
Okay.
And yeah, the dispatcher told all postal patrols to be advised, we have a security incident at Slick 4, be on the lookout. And then as I drove out there, more information was coming in. They had said something to the effect that the object had darted off. And then, I get out there and I talk to everybody, and it's just disbelief. People are scared. Some people are excited. Nobody can believe what just happened. And I talked to everybody, and basically what happened was they saw the light. Everyone was observing it. What is that? Strange. It got closer and bigger, and then it just zoomed in. And what they described was this truly massive, at least 100-yard object. And as it got closer, the light went out. It was illuminated.
Okay.
And then the light went out, and it was this enormous black mat object. And it flew right from the water over the coast, right up to the entry control point, and just stopped and hovered. And they were all these patrolmen were together. They were all at the entry control point when this happened. And they were all just standing outside staring at it. And it was there for about 45 seconds. They were all looking at each other, and then it just floated away. And that's what happened.
Wow. Was it the same object? Now I'm questioning it. That's crazy, especially since it came from the water and then headed back to the water. Man, black mat. What was that? Crazy. Anyways, so guys, Jeffrey Nucatelli is one of the individuals you will be hearing from at the UAP hearing. I'm interested to see what else he can contribute. Now, he's gone on many podcasts and talked all about this. So will we hear or anything new from him that hasn't already been said in these interviews that he's done? We shall see. We shall see. But let's move to our next individual that we will be hearing from. And that is a gentleman named Alexandro Wiggins. Now, in April of 2025, Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp released a UAP video from the USS Jackson of an event that occurred in 2023. So let's go ahead and watch that UAP video really quick, because Alexandro Wiggins is connected to this. So let's watch that. And we are going to keep moving along here, guys. Give me one sec. here we go.
Deploy the VGSS team. That like 22,000 feet.
That shit took off earlier.
Deploy the VGSS team. That like 22,000 feet.
That shit took off earlier.
All right. So you guys remember when that video came out? Pretty big deal. Apparently it was a Tic Tac. Another damn Tic Tac. Craziness. So, one of the people involved with this event was, as we mentioned, Alexandro Wiggins. And he is a senior chief operations specialist, still active. He's still active, which is interesting. He will be testifying before Congress about a UAP event, and he is still active in the Navy. You know, a lot of the times these guys are veterans. They're former military. So he has a lot on the line testifying before Congress about this. Pretty crazy. Senior Chief Operations Specialist in the U.S. Navy with over 23 years of service. During his tenure, he served aboard the USS Jackson, where he worked as a radar expert in the Combat Information Center. In 2023, he detected and tracked 4 tic-tac-shaped objects emerging from the ocean using advanced shipboard systems. So let's hear a little bit more about who Alexandro is. We're going to play a couple clips that he did with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp over at Weaponized. So here's Alexandro sort of giving us an idea of who he is and why we should be paying attention to what he has to say. So give this a watch. Here we go.
Operations Specialist Senior Chief Alexandro Wiggins. Been in the Navy for 23 years and counting. And I work here in San Diego currently on shore duty. And yeah, my last command was the USS Jackson. That's actually my little going away present right there from the Jackson. And off good old San Diego coast, being in the Navy, we go out there, we do our mission, we, workups and things of that nature. And every now and again, we will see satellites, we will see shooting stars, things of that nature. And then you'll see things that are very unexplained, like the video that Jeremy released. So you'll see that more often than not. And I have conversations with plenty of sailors that I work with and have worked with that will see things and it's unexplained. And we see them so often that we just kind of joke about it. We'll say we can't explain it. I'm a radar operator on board the USS Jackson at the time of the video in 2023. So the position is called TAC. So we were monitoring the radar, and that's what we do. So if there's things that we can't explain when it comes to the kinematics of a contact on our screen, then we'll use visual, we'll use other sensors like Sapphire, we'll look out of the bridge wings and see what we can see to identify what's around us. And every now and again we will see things that we can't explain. And when I say that, it's not as if we're seeing things that are a threat to the military, a threat to our ship. They're just things that we identify. There's helicopters, there's aircraft that are commercial aircraft all around San Diego, the coast, and things of that nature. So it's my job on that watch to identify what's what. And when you can't identify what's what, it makes you kind of skeptical.
Okay. So there is Alexandro giving us an idea of his position and all that, a little background for you guys. But what happened? That's the big question. Now we always get these very limited glimpses of what these events are through the videos that are released. But what is the testimony behind the video? What happened during this to the people who were actually observing these things, experiencing these things? What happened after the video? He will talk about that. But let's hear from Alexandro about the event itself. It's pretty interesting when you hear him kind of break this down, you know, what we are limited of seeing in the video, but what they actually experienced on the USS Jackson at the time. So give this one a watch next, guys. This is good. This is good.
Evening into the night watch, we were standing, and typical day underway, conducting normal operations off the coast of San Diego. And there was a time that I witnessed on my radar a few contacts popping up. It was northeast on the contact on the radar. The radar's in true, so northeast-ish, looking at the radar, and noticed a few things come in and out. You know, I've been in the Navy for 23 years, so as an operations specialist, so I know the difference between, you know, helicopters, which I'm a helo controller myself, with an NEC of helo control, and knowing the difference between that, commercial navigation radars, which are your typical ComNav that are, you know, going to Hawaii possibly, and then atmospherics. So things like clouds, rainstorms, things like that. You learn over, you know, the years to differentiate what's what on your radar. So that night, I noticed that I couldn't differentiate what was what at all amongst the things that I just mentioned. So I decided to go out into the bridge wing just to take a look, to see. I didn't think it was that far away. I think, you know, it's nighttime, so light travels. So I figured, you know what, let me just poke outside, see what I can see. And to my surprise, which is something I've never witnessed, was a light I noticed on the horizon, but it looked as if it were surfacing out of the water and going up. Now, seeing lights on the horizon, very typical when you're out in the water, but seeing a light on the horizon going into the air is a different story. So witnessing that, I'm not sure of what I'm seeing. What goes through my head, maybe there's you know, a military team that's out there conducting flight operations, and maybe their helos hovering, something like this, you know, but their lights blink. I'm a helo controller, so I know that their lights, their running lights are going to be blinking, red, green, and, you know, pulsating. So it's not like it's going to be a solid light, and that's what I witnessed, was a solid light rising from the horizon up. So went back inside, looked at my radar to just kind of match what I'm seeing with my own eyes, and I didn't really see what I thought I was going to see. I only saw one light visually, but then I saw 4 different contacts on radar. So seeing those 4 contacts on radar, I asked our CSM, I forget what that stands for right now, but Combat Systems, I forget the full title, but asked the CSM to take a look on Sapphire. They're in charge of managing Sapphire and moving it around, to just look at surface and air contacts around our ship. So they slew over to the location that I gave them, the direction in which I gave them, and that's where you see the video cut into play, where you see it slew into that target to kind of look at it. And you know, they're the operator, so they know how to zoom in and kind of see what the profile of the contact that we're looking at, to kind of understand, okay, if it were a ComNav radar, which is a typical, you know, airliner 747, then we're going to say, okay, good to go. They're, you know, headed off to Hawaii or wherever, anywhere to the west. But that night we didn't witness that, as shown by the video. We were fairly far away from the coast of San Diego, San Clemente area. So it definitely was not, lights on the horizon from the city, nor did I have anything as far as helicopters or air traffic that I was detecting at all in that location. It's nighttime. So I want to be clear when I say what I saw a light, and it was a decently bright light. So when you've been on the water as long as I have, you know the difference between an aircraft carrier's lights, a difference between an oiler's lights, a fishing, a cargo ship. It's what we learn when we freshly come into the Navy, especially as an operations specialist. We have to learn silhouettes. We have to learn lighting structures, things of that nature. It's just part of what our job is. Being senior enlisted, it's become part of very basic elementary things that you have to know when doing your job. Kind of learning the basics first, and then, applying what you experience throughout your time, and then kind of coming up with your, solution as what you're seeing. So watching this light emerge from the water at a distance and then go into the air with a solid light, no blinking or anything, I've never noticed that and witnessed that ever in my life. That's kind of what triggered me to go back to my instruments, check it out, talk with the watch team and ask them, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Let's use other sensors. Let's use what we got to see what we're witnessing. One thing I do want to add is that when I witnessed that, I wasn't feeling threatened. I didn't think, the ship is going to get attacked. And why didn't I think that? Because multiple reasons. I'm not at a different level of ROE. I'm not postured in such a way off the coast of San Diego where we're receiving intel that there's a significant level threat, that we need to be at a higher threat level. None of this is happening, right? We're off the coast. We're doing workups. We're, doing training, things of that nature. So nothing made me think that we need to, trigger a higher level of threat warning. I indicated what I saw to the tactical action officer, the TAO, who's in charge of Combat Information Center, ICC-1. And it was just, let's do more investigating. Let's see what we're looking at. And that's why we got Sapphire to look in that direction and notice what we noticed. When I say they left, they really left as one unit of 4 objects, all at the same time. So there's a lot of skeptics out there. I get it. We're not meant to all be the same person and think the same way. And it's no different on board a Navy ship. So on board the ship that night, after all 4 of those craft left at the same exact time, we had a few people that were on the bridge, different from Combat Information Center. It's kind of like a curtain that separates us. And, we're just kind of laughing you witnessed what you witnessed. You guys understand what you saw. And, I believe it was the junior officer of the deck was just saying, hey, nah, that was just an aircraft. It was just an aircraft, typical, 747. And I said, sir, did you see wings? Did you see, anything protruding from the craft that indicated a silhouette of a typical aircraft? And he was like, yeah, well, it's because we're so far away from the aircraft that it seems to look like a Tic Tac. So I said, okay, sir, got it. I would say maybe 20 seconds pass. 20 seconds pass, and I go back to my radar, and I'm just looking around, and I tell the CSM, I said, slew over to a certain degree, and I forget the degree. And he slews over to an air contact that I know is an air contact, and I tell him, zoom in. Now, I just mentioned that there's a curtain that separates ICC-1 from the bridge, but the bridge has the same monitors that we have, so they can see what we're doing from the bridge, and you can change channels so they can see certain pictures that are being displayed in ICC-1. So they're already displaying the Sapphire camera on one of the multiple monitors on the bridge. So when I tell them to slew over, I say, OD, do you see what this air contact looks like? This air contact was maybe 5-6 nautical miles further than what we witnessed, the Tic Tacs, and you can clearly see the wings. You can see the propulsion. You can see the propulsion. Like when on a hot summer day, being from Las Vegas, George Knapp, I'm sure you know what that is. You can see that hot propulsion from the aircraft. And I told the JOD, I said, like, what do you have to say now? You know, because it was funny to me that I was able to disprove his skepticism like within 20 seconds. That what we witnessed was probably an airplane. We were just zoomed in so far that it just looked like a small Tic Tac, but disproved like within 20, 30 seconds. And he didn't really say anything after that. He just kind of chuckled and laughed.
Wow. What a good witness. You know, he saw something with his own eyes, and he saw things on the radar too. That was, what a testimony. Now, again, it's just a testimony, but we have video to back up some of this, which is awesome. The video doesn't show much. 4 Tic Tacs, apparently, raised out of the ocean, went into the sky, and then disappeared. So that's interesting. I want to hear from Alexandro about what happened after the video ends, right? Like, what did those objects do? How did they maneuver? And what made him think that these were truly something anomalous? So let's go ahead and play this last clip from Alexandro. Then we're going to get to our last 2 witnesses of the UAP hearing, guys. Let's watch this one. Bit shorter, I promise.
Probably everybody wants to know. I'll tell you what happens when the video stops. The video stops and the CSM zooms out. And as the CSM zooms out, we notice that there's a total of 4. Now, on radar, I already noticed that once I came back in, I noticed the one that I was looking for visually, and I noticed other contacts in that same location. But when we first zoomed in on the contact in the video that you see, we only saw the one, and then we see the second one. It was only when we zoom out, we realize, holy crap, there's 2 more out here, a total of 4. And so we're just watching. What's the point of looking away? You know, we're witnessing something that most people don't get a chance to witness in their lives. So we're just watching on Sapphire, and we're tracking it, and Sapphire's, you know, tracking one of them, and it's tracking and tracking and tracking. And as time goes by, we're like, let's just watch. I would say maybe 20, 30 seconds pass after the video stops. And all of a sudden, you just see all 4 of them take off to the northeast all at the same time, just out of nowhere. And if I had to talk speed, it would say like maybe 2 steps behind instantaneous. It wasn't like if you blink, it's gone. We had time to watch them go off into the distance, but really instantly. No noise, no sonic boom, no, effects in the water that, cause rippling in the water. Nothing. Nobody was affected. Nothing was affected. We didn't get a gust of wind to hit us. And that's anything else, I'm not a scientist, but anything else that could have been disturbed with that level of speed was not disturbed. They all executed at the same time, leaving. It's not like 3 of them left and then one was kind of like a little behind them. No, they were all in sync at the same time. And that's why I said earlier that it was my thoughts were either they synced together like we do in the Navy and we all take off at turn at the same time, or, get in formation at the same time and execute the order at the same time, or one entity is controlling all 4 of those objects at the same time, and it's just synced together, all 4 objects. Something like that is what went through my mind. Where this goes from here, I don't know. I wouldn't mind, just adding my voice to those that have come before me, like yourself and Jeremy. I don't mind. But that's how I see myself. Just someone giving data as eyewitness testimony, Again, I love the Navy. Been in the Navy for 23 years. Don't plan on leaving it anytime soon. And just wanted to share my experience with the world.
Thank you, Alexandro. That was fascinating. Still active duty. So I applaud this man for coming forward. I really do. Crazy how he described how these things kind of in formation together, in sync, as he said, bye, 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 bye. I just sang that at karaoke this past week. Anyways, that they all darted off at breakneck speeds together. That's crazy. Crazy. Where he goes next, he's going to Congress, baby, on Tuesday. So again, like Gaz mentioned in the chat, and I do want to thank Gaz, actually, guys, for the 10 pound, 10 pound? Yeah, 10 pound super chat. Thank you so much, Gaz. Really do appreciate that. We have disclosure. Acknowledgement would be nice. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate that. It'll be interesting to see what else he can bring forward at these hearings, or will it be everything we just heard in this interview on Weaponized? Same with Jeffrey Nucatelli. Will it be everything we heard on Vinny's disclosure team video? I don't know. I don't know. You know what else I don't know? Who's this guy? Not him. This guy. This is the mystery man of the UAP hearing. Dylan Borland. Very little known about who this guy is, what he will be testifying about. But Dylan Borland served in the U.S. Air Force as a geospatial intelligence analyst, a role that focused on analyzing satellite imagery and other geospatial data to support mission planning and intelligence operations. Now, other than that, we really do not know his involvement other than, as stated in the official Congressional UAP hearing website, he is a UAP witness. So will we be hearing for the very first time ever about his event? We're pretty sure this is who Dylan Borland is. This is the only image anyone's been able to find of him. Geospatial intelligence analyst, you know, kind of similar to some of the work that David Grusch did in the past as well. This Dylan Borland also worked for BAE Systems Aerospace Company and Intrepid Solutions and Services. So that's interesting that he went on to work for aerospace companies. Hint, hint. Is it possible he could be testifying about some stuff having to do with these aerospace companies? Maybe he's going to call them out on being part of these retrieval programs or recovery efforts, or currently in possession of non-human technology. I don't know. Nobody knows. This guy is a complete enigma. As far as we know, this is the very first time he's coming forward publicly about any of this. So we shall see about Dylan Borland, but that's all I got on him, guys. Information is scant at best. But Tuesday, maybe the light will shine a bit brighter. Pat, I know a hybrid when I see one. Satellite footage, Donnie Falls says. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe he'll have something to share. Other than just testimony. Who knows? The Napster. Our fourth and final UAP witness, not witness. I mean, he's not a UAP. He hasn't witnessed a UAP, but he is a witness at the Congressional UAP hearing. I don't know how you could not know who George Knapp is, guys, but for any of you who might be new to the UFO topic, UAP topic, George Knapp is best known as an investigative journalist and news reporter. He works for KLAS TV in Las Vegas, still works for them as far as I know. He's also the co-host of the Weaponized podcast with Jeremy Corbell. He is best known for having broken the story on the highly controversial Bob Lazar and Area 51 story, and also basically kind of breaking the story on Skinwalker Ranch as well. Wrote a book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, and Hunt for Skinwalker, I think, as well. Yeah, George is going to be one of our 4 witnesses at the event. He has previously interviewed Alexandra Wiggins, as we just watched some of those clips. He also interviewed Jeffrey Nucatelli on the Weaponized podcast in the past as well. So what is he going to be talking about at this thing? I find it interesting. Now, we do know that George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell have been highly influential on these UAP hearings, if not literally being like in charge of finding these individuals, a lot of these people. So it comes as no surprise that 2 of them have recently been on the Weaponized podcast, and now George Knapp is testifying as well. The connections cannot be more obvious, but what do you guys think? Now, he is a journalist. Journalists have certain protections with the information they can bring forward. This sort of came to light in the last one with Schellenberger when he testified before the congressional members about the Immaculate Constellation program. Is this going to be something similar where George Knapp has protections and can actually talk about these whistleblowers, these crash retrieval people that have worked on the programs? I don't know. But I found this interesting. Now, back when Grusch testified, a couple of years ago now at this point, News Nation did a bunch of coverage on it, and they talked about some stuff that George Knapp had put into the actual official record, congressional record, about his experiences working with Russian UFOs, Russian intelligence. So is that something you might be talking about? We watched a clip earlier tonight where Anna Paulina Luna said that maybe someone like George Knapp, who will be testifying before Congress, will be talking about foreign governments and UFOs. So I'm going to go ahead and play this last clip for you guys here to round out our UAP witnesses for the Congressional UFO hearing. This is the reporters over at News Nation talking about George Knapp almost 2 years ago and his involvement with these congressional UFO hearings. And I do think this is a little bit of a tease of some of the stuff we might hear this Tuesday at the hearing. So let's give this a watch and we'll start to close things out, guys.
Knapp, what is his level of experience? What do we know about him?
So George Knapp is a highly respected investigative journalist. You can actually see him in some of that video sitting right behind David Grusch to the left of him. And he's been studying UFOs for literally decades. He actually works for our parent company. He works for the News Nation station in Las Vegas. He's been reporting on UFOs for years. He's been in touch with lawmakers for years. But what's interesting about these new developments with him is this is information that he submitted to the Congressional Committee on the record. He submitted these letters to the committee under oath, essentially. So these are now part of the congressional record. So it's not like this is just some blog post or some story that's out there. This is now part of this committee's congressional record.
So what does this letter actually say? Because probably the most shocking allegation is he talks about dozens of engagements between the Russian military and UAPs.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. I've been going over it. This just came out after the hearing on Wednesday. So this is new in just the last couple of days. He says, according to people in Russia who he met with, a program director there, they had a whole UFO program that they talked to him about that was going on in the 90s. A man named Boris Sokolov was in charge of the program, said there had been 45 different incidents where the Russians had engaged with UFOs. The warplanes even chased them, shot at them. and he claims that the Russians told him that there was actually a time where 2 warplanes crashed during these encounters and 2 pilots were killed, which is unbelievable that they've been able to keep this secret for so long.
What is the kind of time frame on these encounters that we're talking about?
So he met with them in the 90s. There was a brief window, he says, where relations were good between the U.S. and Russia, where he was able to meet with some of these people who were in charge of the program and actually get some of this information.
What does he say about the American military's, relationship with UFOs, encounters with UFOs?
Similar thing. I mean, he says that this has been going on for years. He had a relationship, a very close relationship with former Senator Harry Reid, that went back decades, where he says they worked together. There was a secret program that no one knew about that Harry Reid helped get funded. Tens of millions of dollars each year went into this program, and that the UFOs have been studied for years and just no one knew about it.
All right. So what do you guys think? Is that what we're going to be hearing about at the hearing from George Knapp? Putting Russian intel in a congressional hearing. Woohoo, guesses. I don't know, man. Could be interesting. It could be interesting. All right, guys. Those are our 4 witnesses you will be hearing from at the congressional UFO hearing this upcoming Tuesday. But I asked you guys on YouTube to vote in our poll. Who are you looking forward to hearing from most at the hearing? Now, again, let's go over the names here. They were Jeffrey Nucatelli with the red square UFO, Alexandra Wiggins with the 4 Tic Tacs, Dylan Borland, the mystery man of the hour, who we don't know anything about, but apparently is a UAP witness, or investigative journalist George Knapp. Out of 51 votes on YouTube, 10% of you said Jeffrey Nucatelli, 2% of you said Alexandra Wiggins, 25% of you said Dylan Borland, and a whopping 63% of you said George Knapp. So you guys are really into the Napster. Interesting. And then the coming in second was Dylan Borland, our mystery man. That's true. It'll be the first time we ever hear from him. We don't know. We just do not know what he's going to be talking about. So interesting nonetheless. Oh man, you guys are blowing it up with the expletives in the chat. Behave. Just because Suzanne's not here does not mean you guys can start using profanity. I'm watching you. How about a little drama to close things out for tonight? Now, someone else had something to say about the upcoming hearing. Over at the New York Post, Stephen Greenstreet, reporter at the New York Post, asked the former head of Aero, Sean Kirkpatrick, what he thought about Anna Paulina Luna, her task force, in the upcoming UAP hearing. And he had something interesting to say. So I'm going to go ahead and read you guys his response to Stephen Greenstreet over at the New York Post. This is what former Aero director Sean Kirkpatrick had to say about the upcoming UAP hearing. If Luna and her lunatics want to continue to parade charlatans and grifters in front of an audience to satisfy her need of playhouse politics, then the American people should demand accountability of all the wasted taxpayer money and congressional time she has derailed from more serious issues facing this country. Clearly, she's been working quietly with these pseudoscientists and attention seekers to script a hearing and then launch it as a surprise onto the world, possibly to distract, or more likely because that's all she's qualified to do. In the face of international crisis, where is the accountability? Where is DOGE when there is a legitimate target of fraud, waste, and abuse in Congress? Where is the DOJ investigation into the congressional misappropriation and corruption associated with trying to funnel money to these grifters and actively obstruct legitimate work by the DoD and IG? It's a disgrace to the Congress and the U.S. government and only serves to provide reality TV. Wow. Nuclear, man. Well, there you go. Tell us how you really feel, Kirkpatrick. Kirkpatrick is drunk on hater, AJ Allen says. But you know who responded to this? No, not Anna Paulina for once. But her communications director did. Interesting. In a response to Stephen Greenstreet at the New York Post, this is what her communications director had to say. David Leatherwood is her communications director. He would say, Kirkpatrick is an irrelevant little man who is a known documented liar, has blocked the release of information and tried to discredit witnesses. Everyone should check out the News Nation article about him with Brandon Fugel. It seems to me that he's suffering more from small man complex, and sometimes his big emotions get the best of him. Fortunately, no one takes anything he says seriously. We will continue to pray for the recovery of Mr. Kirkpatrick and his tiny ego and his journey to deal with his mental health. All of this on the heels of the SCIF scuffle between Elizondo and Anna Paulina. We had to end with some humor, guys. It is clear that Sean Kirkpatrick has very strong feelings about people like George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, these witnesses. Clearly has thoughts on Anna Paulina Luna. But good Lord. First of all, this could be perhaps the most unprofessional response to anything I've ever seen from a communications director. So David Leatherwood, you deserve to be fired immediately. Immediately. Like, GTFO, man. Get the hell out of Dodge, brother. You are a piece of shit. You are a scumbag. What you said here is just so unbelievably childish and unprofessional. Now, Sean Kirkpatrick's response was also very immature. I'm not gonna lie, but good Lord, this is just insanity that this is all coming from the former head of the DoD UFO investigation group and the communications director of a congressperson on the heels of a UAP hearing. Fucking circus, man. Wow. I don't know. But guess what, guys? We are going to broadcast it live. Join us this upcoming Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the channel. We will be live broadcasting the entire UAP hearing. We will have a post discussion after to talk about whatever craziness ensues at this thing, if any. But yeah. Dan, shout out to Dan. Guys, if you haven't already, please go subscribe to the Based on a True Story podcast hosted by Dan. Wonderful podcast. Based on a True Story is sponsoring Anomicon this year. And I could not be more happy to work with Dan and more proud to have them as a sponsor. So shout out to Dan. We live in a time where so many serious people are resorting to name calling and childish behavior. It's just sad. Agreed. 100% agreed. It does no good for this topic that we have strived for legitimacy and credibility for years, and leave it to the government to ruin that, right? Truly, truly. Okay, guys. Is that it for today? Oh, no. I got one more thing to share with you guys. Dropping in just a couple hours here, right on the Somewhere in the Skies podcast, is a very, very special interview with the one and only Travis Walton. 50 years later, after the Travis Walton incident. You guys may have seen the movie Fire in the Sky. You may have read his book, The Travis Walton Experience. It has been 50 years since the event, and we got him. And you're going to hear from him directly. That's dropping in just a couple hours on all podcast feeds. But I'm going to go ahead and play a quick clip here from the interview to tease it for you guys before you hear the entire interview that features Travis himself and filmmaker Jennifer Stein, who did a wonderful documentary on the Travis Walton incident. But we asked Travis about health effects that happened after his event. Like, were there any? And he had an interesting response. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip from our interview with Travis Walton. And then, you guys can go listen to the full interview premiering in just a couple hours on the Summer in the Skies podcast. But give this a watch to get you ready for that interview.
Did at any time after your incident, did anyone medically scan you for implants or other things?
Oh, definitely. That was the top of the line order. The night I was returned, my brother said, "I'm not letting that mob get a hold of this guy," and he took me to Phoenix, and he had the help of the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, the premier UFO investigating organization in the field at the time, and they had arranged medical doctors, psychiatrists, a whole team of experts to examine me very thoroughly, starting immediately and the next day, covering everything. I had brainwave scans, MRI, what's the other one? EEG, yeah. On the same in the same clinic that Muhammad Ali had been examined in. It was in
Burroughs Neurological Institute.
He came there when he developed neurological problems, and top of the line, the Burroughs Neurological was the place to go. And one anomaly that came up in my brainwave scan was, I'll try to quote it. The report said, an alternating bisynchronous wave traveling from front to back. I should get the actual quote, but the significance of this is that because of the incredible media scrutiny and hysteria, the technician did not know who I was. So he was totally blinded, and which is a good thing in terms of objective measurement, to report this unusual brainwave pattern, which in a subsequent follow-up brainwave scan had disappeared. So evidently some residual effect of my injury that I fully recovered from.
Wow. Crazy stuff, guys. Not only that, there were really interesting trace evidence left behind at the site where the event took place. We do go in depth about that in the interview. But yeah, crazy stuff. There were some things in this interview as Travis reflected 50 years later on the event, things he's never talked about. Follow-up experiences, his thoughts on the debunkers, his thoughts on the hardcore believers, what other incidents he finds of interest in the UFO field, where we are today in the conversation about alien abductions and things like that. It was a fascinating conversation with Travis and Jennifer Stein. I cannot wait for you guys to hear it in just a couple hours. So be on the lookout for that on all podcast feeds. Please take just a few moments to rate and review the Somewhere in the Skies podcast on Apple and Spotify. That goes a very long way for us, guys, especially since we are now on Spectre Vision Radio, our brand new home from the Summer in the Skies podcast. Let's boost up those ratings and reviews and show Spectre Vision what we are capable here of at Summer in the Skies. So, fam, I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you, go over to Spotify, rate the show, go over to Apple Podcasts, rate and review. Leave me a comment as your review on Apple, and all you got to say is crystalline potato. Remember that. Go over to Apple Podcasts, give us a rating, and in your review, just say crystalline potato. I want to see how many of you actually go and do that. I will shout you out next week on the show if you do that, for sure. Hit that like button, subscribe right here on YouTube. That goes a very long way as well. Leave a comment after this too. I would certainly appreciate that. And then last but not least, oh yeah, there's our boy Travis. Love it, love it. Join us this Tuesday starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard for our live broadcast of the Congressional UAP hearing. And last but not least, guys, Anomicon is September 20th. I need your help. Big push this week for media, for marketing. If you know of anyone who would want to cover Anomicon, I have a press release ready to go. I have a video promo ready to go. I can send it their way. If you want to tag your local news on Twitter, or get in touch with someone, this is the week to do it. Let's get everyone ready for Anomicon coming to you guys September 20th, our free virtual conference. You can learn more about all of our speakers and what they'll be talking about at anomicon.com. But there we go. There we go, guys. What a show. We are coming on the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to say goodnight to all of you. But thank you. Thank you again to Suzanne and to Gaz for our super chats, super stickers. Truly do appreciate those, guys. You have just a few minutes left here if you want to throw in your last super stickers or super chats to help fund Anomicon 2025. We would truly, truly appreciate that. But that's going to do it. It's good to do it. What a show. I'm so happy to be back. I'm sorry I wasn't here last week, guys, but we will be here next Sunday as we head into the week of Anomicon. But join us again just a couple days this Tuesday for the Congressional UAP hearing. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to most as we head into the latter half of the year with the UFO topic and beyond. But as always, it has been a pleasure. It has been an honor to spend these 2 hours with you guys. I very much look forward to it whenever we can do this. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for dedicating your time to just being here and talking to us and having the conversations that you guys have in the chat. And yeah, just for, for being here, for being in my corner. Truly means the world to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you so much, Ebony McKickass. I love your handle. Anomicon Go UFO. Thank you so much for the $5 Canadian super chat. We truly do appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's gonna do it, guys. So from me to you, as always, thank you. Thank you for everything. And I will leave you with our mantra as always, and that is to keep your feet on the ground, but never stop searching somewhere in the skies. See you this Tuesday for the hearing, and I'll see you next week for somewhere in the live stream. Take care.
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.